Hello, loved ones. Thank you for joining me today. And if you're new to the channel, then welcome to the family. Today, we will review Married at First Sight Season 16, Episode 5, After Party. Shout out to Sister Gina. This episode was called Talk to Me Gingerly. To be a part of the congregation, please subscribe. To be part of the conversation, please comment. And to be a part of today's offering, please drop a like in the collection plate. And with that, let's get started. This episode was hosted, of course, by the beautiful Keshia Knight Pulliam. And her guests were Gina, Shaquille, and special guest Sarah Fraser. For anyone new to the after party, Sarah Fraser produces and hosts her own podcast called The Sarah Fraser Show, where she discusses all things pop culture, reality television, along with some spicy, not safe for work topics. Let's get into the first question. Keshia asked Sarah, what are your thoughts on the couple so far? She is liking this season and the matches. She says they signed up for the show and should be getting down the first night. Gina's response is she knows she got married, but he is still a stranger, and if they rush into things, it might become awkward. She wants to just ease into it. Sarah says, don't bother, get going. I must agree with Gina on this one. However, are we surprised with Sarah's answers? On her podcast, she discusses some spicy, not safe for work topics. So if you agree with Sarah, you might really enjoy her podcast. We then move on to the first clip. It was Kirsten and Shaquille discussing the conference and him saying he felt supported and glad she was there. Kirsten says, although not at first, she is glad she was there to support. Shaquille introduced Kirsten as his wife during the cohort photo at the conference. His core group knew what transpired, but the others were surprised. Missing the first day of the honeymoon did not impact his marriage. Once they arrived, they threw their bags in the room and headed out and was able to make up for lost times. We then moved on to our next clip. It's Kirsten sitting in the hammock with Shaquille, telling him he is growing on her. She says at first she was not attracted to his bald head, but once she began to spend more time with him, she feels a little more attracted. Shaquille indicates that off camera, Kirsten is telling him she is not attracted to him and does not want him to touch her. And then on camera, she wants him to kiss her. He is so confused. Now, let's all be reminded that the after party is taped after decision day. This is my first sign that this couple may say no on decision day. And when it happens, we as the audience will not understand the decision. If Kirsten does not want to be bothered off camera, like Alyssa, but comes on camera and acts differently, producers will not be able to authentically document their journey. Shaquille is holding back, waiting for her as it relates to affection because he is a gentleman, but he says he should be a man and a leader and take the next step. Wait a minute, Shaquille. I would not advise that with someone you met and married 3 days ago. I think the conservative approach is the best approach in such a fragile situation. Although Shaquille is attracted to Kirsten, it does not bother his self-esteem that she is not attracted to him. He says he is who he is and he is not going to change his appearance. I am so happy for him. Hey, we all should love ourselves and who we are, regardless of those around us. We then moved on to our next clip. We see Clint and Gina on an excursion bus that they have been on for about an hour and a half. They both have a calm demeanor and decide that this is an adventure. Gina says they woke up and first they went shopping in the gift shop for clothing. She had explained earlier that the odds had been against them the first few days. Their first flight was delayed and they almost missed their connection. Because of that, their bags were delayed and arrived in Jamaica 3 days later, causing them to sport the Jamaican gear because they had nothing else to wear. After shopping, they boarded the excursion bus and the tour guide said it would take 1 hour and 30 minutes round trip to the waterfall, which actually took 3 hours just to get there. They were on a switchback so they could feel the wheels hitting the side of the mountains. It was a bonding moment for both of them. She is realizing that they both work well under pressure. They can look at things as an adventure because they are both easygoing and they don't allow small things to ruin their entire trip. Clint was surprised at how cool, calm, and collected Gina was. She believes that Clint thought she would be more high maintenance than she is. Sarah confirms that she too thought Gina would be high maintenance, but before the after party started, she found out how down to earth Gina is when she curled Sarah's hair in the dressing room. Sarah says she can see the chemistry between Gina and Clint in this moment, and Gina says they have a really good time together for sure. Sarah says Clint looks cute. He looks like Bradley Cooper in the movie A Star is Born. Gina says Clint gets that a lot. Shaquille admits that if this was him and Kirsten, they both would have been mad. I love that Shaquille admitted that they both would have been upset instead of just throwing Kirsten under the bus. We then move on to our next clip. We see Kirsten and Shaquille riding ATVs, and Kirsten is in a cameo saying Shaquille is driving very cautiously, but she has a need for speed, so she is pushing the throttle down as far as it can go, and Shaquille is so far behind her. Shaquille does not confirm if his childhood car accident had an impact on him in that moment, but says he is very cautious, even driving his car. He carries scissors in the car just in case he needs it to cut himself from the seatbelt. Although he did not directly say it, it definitely sounds like a trauma response from the accident. Maybe not riding the ATVs, but carrying scissors to cut the seatbelt does. Shaquille admired the beauty of nature riding up the mountain on the ATVs. He took in the fresh air once he got to the top and looked down. They had a vulnerable moment with one another. He says at the top of the mountain, they talked about the future and children. He wants 3 kids and she wants 2. In a very playful way, Shaquille admits that Kirsten was not sensitive but competitive in that moment. She was saying, "Groom, where are you?" while putting the pedal to the metal. For me, I feel like that's what made it okay and different than Nate and Stasia. Kirsten was aware of where he was and was concerned that he needed to speed up so that they can enjoy it together. We then moved on to our next clip. It was Gina talking to Clint, telling him that she is in this for the long haul. She says it's interesting because she does not really vibe with redheads or like gingerly features. She says not to say you're unattractive, that's just who you are. Gina explains that gingerly features are reddish features, freckly skin, and a lighter tone. She likes darker eyes, darker hair, and darker skin. Gina explains that they have been so honest and they are realizing that maybe they need to bring it back and not divulge everything that they want to say. Keshia thinks Clint's ego was bruised. In the conversation, Gina did not feel that the moment was harsh. She says they were both bantering back and forth about things, so it was pretty even ground for what they were saying. I am confused. If Gina did not feel it was harsh, then why does she want to dial it back? Shaquille says that was harsh for Clint's ego to hear those words. He was silent in that moment, and he is a man of many words. He has a thing about his hair. He loves his hair. Shaquille says Gina attacked Clinton's male ego. Gina says she's told him he has a good head of hair, she loves his beard, and all these things. It's easy to look at the negative right when you're talking, but there were a lot of positives that they were pointing out. I am so confused. Does she like his gingerly features or not? I mean, in that whole thing, she said you have gingerly features. I'm not saying you're unattractive, but that's who you are. I feel like when you say, I'm not saying that you're unattractive, but everything that I just described, that's who you are, then you are saying that he's unattractive. I am confused. So one minute she tells him that she likes these things about him, that he has good hair, she likes his beard, and the next thing she tells him, she doesn't like the gingerly features. Oh my God, I am confused. I am sure Clint is confused as well. As a fan, Sarah does not like when the cast share that they are not attracted to their spouse. She wants the cast to start lying moving forward. She feels like they sometimes talk themselves out of these marriages before they begin. She wants them to give themselves a couple of weeks and see what happens. Especially being in romantic Jamaica, she wants them to just think about every good thing about that person. In retrospect, Gina would never want to hurt Clint's feelings and has regrets about that for sure. Moving forward, she needs to be mindful of her word choices. She wished she could have internalized it a little bit more, but who knows, by the end of the experiment, maybe the ginger will be the hottest thing she sees about him, and Shaquille's bald head will be the hottest thing that Kirsten notices. Keshia reminds us all that these are strangers, so it's really trial and error. So it's about learning from the experiences that you are having and then applying it moving forward. It's not about Gina beating herself up about it, and Clint is a big boy and can take it. Gina says Clint is like, I live on Front Street. I want to be honest. So she kind of just went with that. Keshia says a lot of people who dish it out, they just cannot take it. Shaquille says words definitely hurt. Sarah reminds us that the longer you're married, you have a lot of goodwill with your spouse. And although you're not always going to say the right thing, of course you have that built-in trust. But the couples just met each other and they don't have any built-in trust. So the words really matter a lot. Keshia says everybody's looking for red flags, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Your energy flows where your attention goes. So if you're looking for the best in someone, you're going to find the best in them. And if you're looking for all the things you dislike in them, then that's what's going to be amplified. We then move on to our last clip. It's Nichole talking to Chris, saying this brings her back to a time that she calls old Nicole, when she was out at bars all the time, drinking and really living it up. At 28, she started her personal growth journey. Moving to Nashville was part of that, and ever since she moved there, she calls herself the new Nicole. Gina says her younger self was wild. She was a bartender for 13 years in Alabama and 7 years in downtown Nashville, and she was in the thick of it. She went to the University of Alabama, which was a party school, and she lived it up. She became an 85-year-old lady by 27. Shaquille says he was conservative. He was focused on his education. He said he had fun, but you would never know his fun. He was always protecting himself. He wanted to be a president in higher education one day, and he knew what that image should look like. But now he just wants to live. This is my pet peeve. Why do we always believe bad but never good? Gina says she lived it up and no one says anything. But Shaquille says he was conservative, and the response is, you did something. I do not like that. Of course, we can't be sinless, but some of us are doing our best to live lives honorable to Christ, or for those who are not Christian, they want to live moral lives. I don't think that should be challenged. I hope and pray that if Shaquille had fun that we will never know about, he did it by himself, because he is on a national platform, and if even one person knows, he is doomed. The media will find them and his secrets will make its way to the light. Sarah Fraser says she was featured on a website called Hot Chicks with Hot Dogs in Their Mouths, and she was eating a hot dog from her girlfriend's cleavage. We then moved on to our last question. Keshia asked, who is partying the most on the honeymoon? Shaquille and Gina agreed that Nicole and Chris are having the most fun. They are very adventurous. They went dancing with the group out to the ocean, and they are always in the mix. Well, that's all for this episode. What do you think? What do you think about Shaquille saying Kirsten is different when she's on camera than when she's off camera? Do you think Clint's ego was bruised over Gina's comments? Have you started your growth journey like Nicole? What does it look like? Let us know what you think in the comments. We then took a sneak peek of next week's episode. Kirsten and Shaquille participate in an outdoor workout. While kayaking, Nicole thanks Chris for understanding her. During a group discussion, Gina reveals that her and Clint's biggest struggle is physical chemistry, and Clint states the physique that he is attracted to. As a result, Gina wants time apart. Shaquille does not know if he is doing right or wrong. It definitely looks like these marriages are heating up. Well, until next time, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, live with intention. Be intentional.